Hello, you're right. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed your Easter break. Today's video is going to be all about going through the feedback for your work that you did before the Easter break and during the Easter break, and also very briefly just going through what you're going to be doing this week. This video is really for me to talk a little bit more at length about your work in a way that I'm not really going to have time to do during the lesson. So if you want to hear more about the work you did last week and have a longer look at some of the work that your peers did, this is the video for you. But we will be discussing this week's task in much more depth in the lesson, and also Ms. Stewart has made a fantastic video and lots of resources for you. So if you need to know about this week's work more, look elsewhere. Okay, I'm going to start by sharing a little PowerPoint presentation now that I've made. Here it is. Let's go full screen. Excellent. So here we see it. This is this week's task. So let me just read it out for you. Produce a detailed pencil drawing of an interior space or room in your home. And that pretty much sums it up. Down here, you can see we've got some little tips and tricks for you so that you do the best possible drawing you can. And underneath there are a few links that you can click to look at various artists. That one is John Bratby. We've got Hammershoy and Vermeer there. I noticed also that Miss Stewart has included some more references in her videos. So you've got no shortage of inspiration this week. Just to give you a little preview, if you haven't seen it already, Miss Stewart took this photograph of her new kitchen and she transformed it into this really nice drawing. So if you guys can aim to achieve something like this, you'll be doing an excellent job this week. Right, so let's jump into the feedback from last week, or the feedback based on your work from last week. And the first thing that you did, hopefully just before you went away on half term, was your window slogan. We asked you to make a piece of text art, which you then placed into your window, facing out into the world. And the idea was to, put a positive message out there and use art to kind of spread a little hope and everything like that. So let's see what people did in 8A, 8D, and 8E. Those are my classes. Starting off with Daniel Paul in 8A. He says, keep rocking the lock-in, which I thought was cheeky and funny. And he used a bit of typography there and a selective color scheme to emphasize his message. You see down there at the bottom where it says lock-in, he's put little bars over the word lock-in, and he's used a padlock for the O. And then in the top right there, we've got a few little musical symbols, including a little bit of a stave underneath the word rock-in there. So well done, Daniel. Nice little bit of poster design and a fun message. This one is from Dolores, also in 8A. And this was the second piece of work she submitted for this task, and I think the most successful one. She hand embroidered a cushion with the words or the letters HOPE, hope, and this reminded me of this Robert Indiana graphic design piece, which you may or may not have seen. Very famous piece of artwork made by an American artist, worth checking out. And I think that this cushion would look really interesting on a deserted park bench, Dolores, in a little picture. So I think taking your work and put it in the world was always a valuable thing. I also think it's possible we have the same rug in our living room, but that's another conversation for another day. So moving on, this is Esme's work, Esme Hugo, also in 8A. Nice simple circular design. Looks like she had a few pieces of color paper knocking around and she was just inventive with them. She swapped them around. She perhaps used a template to get the circles the exact same size, or folded it and cut them at the same time. And she's used her sketchbook. I hope that you guys are still using your sketchbooks because they've got good paper in them. Just make sure that you don't skip pages, that you don't rip things out, that you put titles in where appropriate. And you can use the paper in your sketchbooks, and you can use your sketchbooks to do your work if you've got them at home. If you haven't, then you have to get your own paper. I recommend getting cartridge paper. Around 170 GSM is probably the best. Yeah, but sketchbooks are a good idea if you've got them. Okay, so a couple of nice text messages here from Peter and Tate, also in 8A. The type is decorative, especially in Peter's example. A little bit plain from Tate there. I think you're going to spend a little bit longer on the presentation. But the messages are, I think, the best things, because it seems like they've really thought and come up with their own slogan, which is so valuable. Because as much as I agree with the sentiment, save the NHS, or stay calm and stay in lockdown, or whatever, I think it's refreshing to hear something new and original, and something that's clearly come from an individual who's thinking about the situation we're in and coming up with their own solutions. So thank you very much, Peter and Tate, for reflecting and coming up with your own ideas here, even if in Tate's example, you could have worked on the presentation a little bit. Luli, so here's a great example of something that is an interesting new message, but also presented in a provocative and thought-provoking way. So let me just read my feedback here. An excellent photograph of a tasteful design featuring a supportive message. So obviously this was done digitally, and it works that way. Simple color scheme, bold type, centered, very nice. Soft reflections disrupt our view. So we can see obviously here that Luli is under glass. She is locked down. She is inaccessible, just as her message is under glass in a virtual space, inaccessible. The way she's holding the device and the mask she's wearing tells us a little bit of a story about the situation that we're in. We have to be careful about what we touch. We have to be careful about what we breathe in. We have to be careful about where we go. And that comes across in this image. She's also echoed the border of the iPad, the black border, in the border of the whole image, which makes the whole image feel like an iPad. So it's almost like she herself is a digital creation. And then finally, I've already talked about the mask, but I think it's really powerful that she's looking straight into the camera, and that we feel that sense of connection with her. Very good, Lily. Thank you very much. Bieber, another very hardworking student in AD, and I was pleasantly surprised by this because I thought it was funny and well presented in a nice window, good scale. But the best thing about this is not only is it funny and light-hearted and a bit cheeky, it's also really well done. If you look down at this felt tip down here, it's flawless. Flawless use of felt tip. Not easy to do because, as you know, when you overlap the felt tips, you get a darker tone. Sometimes the paper can become a little bit warped, but this works really well. Thank you very much, Bieber. Excellent, cheeky piece of work. This one's from Kate's, a bit more heartfelt. Your mask may protect you, but that doesn't mean you have to hide yourself. That's right. You can still have a sense of connection here with other people, even if it means that we can't, be face-to-face with people at all times. I loved Kate's because not only did she have a nice bold message, she had a kind of a calming floral design which frames her message, and also in the background there she's got a subtle kind of watercolor mark making experiment. So lovely work, Kate. Thank you so much. A couple of weeks in a row, you've really impressed me there. Hansi, always impresses with his digital work. He was struggling a little bit this week with the idea of working on paper and putting that in a window, and he told me that was because he was struggling with access to resources. I may have said this already, but we do understand that not all of you have access to a trolley full of art materials at home like I do and other artists do. You can sort that out a little bit though. So what I've done here is I have created a link to an Amazon wish list that I've made. And in that wish list, there are a few of my most highly recommended art materials at the best prices I could find. If you are passionate about art and you're feeling a little bit restricted by your materials at home, maybe it's time to ask your parents to help you by picking up this material or that material. I understand that not everybody can do that. And I don't want to pressure on anybody, but if you're struggling and it's within your capabilities, look into get into materials because they'll put you in a really solid position over the next few years. This is especially valid for those of you that are thinking about GCSE in a couple of years. Okay, right. So yeah, you can get hold of this link just by going into the Files tab in the Year 8 Art Teams area. Moving on, this piece of work is from Lydia Marhulitz. she's used a kind of repetitive design here, kind of, maybe using the layout app that we've been experimenting with. She has a nice bit of typography under there, although it's a bit tricky to see. And at the bottom, she's got kind of a row of tabs that reminded me of, sometimes when you go to a supermarket and you have like a handyman that's left a poster there, and they've said, rip off this piece of paper with my number on and call me, and you kind of take it with you and you put it in your pocket. Well, I feel like Lydia has almost kind of copied that idea, but instead of a phone number, she's put the word hope. So it's almost like you can physically take a little bit of hope away from Lydia's poster, which I thought was really interesting and fun. In terms of the photograph, it's difficult to see what Lydia's done with her design here, because outside it's very bright. Indoors it's actually quite dark. You don't realize that because your eyes adjust, and obviously you have your lights and stuff indoors, but it's always usually a little bit darker inside than it is outside, especially in the middle of the day. So you can either wait until it gets a little bit darker outside, not completely dark, and then take your picture, or you can light inside really, really strongly. I won't go into too much detail about why it causes a problem, but basically if there's too much contrast between outside and inside, the camera struggles and you get this sort of effect. So that's my tip. The other thing that you can do, just one more thing, is you can tap on the area of your picture on your device that you want to be in focus. And I know with iOS devices, this causes the camera to automatically re-expose for the area that you've tapped. So if Lydia had done this, the outside of the picture around it would have been very, very light and white, and you wouldn't really been able to see outside, which wouldn't have been great, but you would have been able to see the poster a bit better. Okay, this one's from Lola. What's really fun is that she hasn't done text on a piece of paper or anything. She has actually done it on a hat, and she's worn the hat, and the hat says, "What's on your list?" Now, I'm not 100%. Lola, I'm sure you'll correct me next time I see you if this is wrong, but I feel like she's made a little bit of a visual pun here, a connection between the idea of a bucket list, which is something that a list of things that you promise yourself you'll do before you pass away, and a bucket hat, which is just a kind of a particular style of a hat that is quite popular at the moment. So bucket list, bucket hat. I think that this is funny, and it's also appropriate because a lot of people are thinking about all the things they're going to do when lockdown's over, and how they're going to live their lives differently, having learned the lessons of lockdown. So thank you very much, Lola, and good bit of experimentation with the layout app. It's good to see you guys using that trick again, because to be honest with you, that's what art is all about. You get a nice big bag of tricks, and then it's about knowing when to use those tricks and pull them out of your bag of tricks at the right moment. Excuse me, a scratch on my nose. I have hay fever. Okay, so Lucas, excellent job here. Basically what Lucas did was that he was also struggling with materials. He didn't have any paper, he didn't have any paints. So rather than give up, he found some balloons, he blew them up, he stuck them on his door, and he wrote his message on those. And I think it's worked really, really well, because who doesn't feel uplifted when they see a bunch of balloons? It's very nice. It's a way of telling everybody outside that you're celebrating something, which is quite interesting. And also, he's got a nice, simple four-word message: "This too shall pass." So, well done, Lucas. Very resourceful. This one's from Marcello. He's used the last couple of tasks to articulate his interest in music, which is fine. And he's picked a very, very good song here by David Bowie called Heroes, and he's taken a line for it: "We can be heroes just for one day," which is so appropriate to lockdown, because, of course, when you are socially distancing, when you're maintaining lockdown conditions, you are basically saving lives by relieving pressure on the NHS, and also by shielding yourself from vulnerable people. So it's a good message to remember right now. This one's from Zoe, and the first thing that struck me was the colours, and also the lovely rounded, chunky, playful type that she's used. Then I looked a little closer and I realised that she has some sort of silvery background there, perhaps some silver paint or a silver piece of paper, and that made this piece of work much more interesting to look at. So experimenting with materials. Well done, Zoe. Thank you very much. Okay, so time to move on to Miss Barrett's feedback here. This one is from Noah Reevy. Great alternative take on the rainbow motif. Good slogan too. I also like the way the photograph has been taken with the reflection of the houses. So firstly, yeah, it's nice to see someone pushing back a little bit against the onslaught of the rainbows. The rainbows are obviously a very positive, nice thing that this nation is doing in order to respond to lockdown and to COVID-19. But it's important to realize that there are other ways of articulating yourself, and it's refreshing and fun and worthwhile to find other ways to get your message across. So thank you, Noah. And also, I like that you've embraced the reflections in the photographs, and it's actually worked quite well for you. So good stuff. Botan and Lauren, both in 8B, lovely hand-drawn painted posters. Bold, simple blue and white colours that match with the NHS message from Botan, and more subtle, softer rainbow colours by Lauren, similar to Noah, taking the rainbow motif and turning it into part of the message slogan. Well done, guys. Excellent work. Moving on. Beatrice. Another lovely positive message and good use of the image of the laptop set alongside the two figures holding hands. Very good. Even better if you'd photographed it in your window. Yes, and we'll see that that's a recurring theme with a lot of Year 8 work. We ask you to get your work out into the world and face it out towards members of the public. If you don't have a window because you live on the 6 millionth floor, okay, you have normally got a front door or a park bench or a lamppost or a bus stop or anything really. So getting your work out into the world is something that we wanted you to do. So if you didn't do it, you missed out there. You could have made your work really cool. I think this is on canvas paper or canvas, I'm not sure. So Beatrice, I think you should paint. If you've got canvas paper, you should paint. Lovely piece of work, thank you, Beatrice. So really slick graphic design and kind of collage efforts here from Nicholas. I'm not sure if that's a real collage or kind of a digital collage effect on the right hand side, but these look really well made, Nicholas. Really, really good stuff. And again, it would be so good to see these in your window. What you could do if you, for example, couldn't print these out but wanted that digital effect was take a picture of your window from the outside and then using a double exposure tool or some other digital editing app, just take the image and put it in the window digitally. So like fake it, why not? Malwa, excellent logo with Malwa's trademark figures. Look closely at the ones fighting off the COVID-19 symbols. Lovely illustrative style and clever slogan, well done. So yeah, that's really cool to see, you know, the little guy with the bow shooting down the COVID-19 symbols. And I like the overall slogan as well. Marvel is not as powerful as the NHS, okay? So we're thinking about the NHS as heroes at the moment. So it's good to see Welwa comparing them to the MCU. Moving on to 8C, who of course are Miss Stewart's class. Amir, great scale of poster and bold lettering in contrasting colours. You could have added a darker outline to really make the text stand out from a distance. Thank you, Amir. Good work. Annalise, a really great response to this task in Annalise's trademark collage medium. This is so effective. A very relevant message given the murder of George Floyd in USA, and ongoing protests and the impact COVID-19 is disproportionately having on BAME people. Great response to social context and passionate activism. Well done, Annalise, that's really good. And I would echo Miss Stewart's sentiments there. I think it's really inspiring for me as a teacher to see students engaging with issues of the day and using their art as a way to articulate their thoughts. So, you know, think about this conversation for yourself. Think about how you feel, and perhaps you might want to use some artwork to explore it as well. It's always worth doing, I think. Anastasia, I like the naivety of this. Quick characters and sketches remind me of a David Shrigley. You should look at David Shrigley, he's one of my favourite artists, and nice instinctive style. Thank you very much, Anastasia. Hannah, good reference to rainbows and support for NHS. Very bold and joyful. That is very nice, Hannah. But could you have thought about a more original message? That's a good point. Great use of cutout, which I'm really impressed with. So yeah, again, it's nice sometimes just to think of a new, different thing to say, I think sometimes. Leo, Great 3D relief response, simple message and muted color scheme, but I really like the mosaic tile effect. Me too, and I like the way that it stands out, and I can see the way the light's falling on it and creating little shadows around it, which kind of gives it a little bit of more of an impact for me. So well done, Leo. Maddie, quite hard to see all the detail there is here because of the photo probably. Loads of pattern and silver text contrast with bright gradient of colors. Miss has written down the message for us here. Have some fire, be unstoppable, be a force of nature. It's a really nice message, Maddie, inspiring and positive. Moving on. Jan appears to have taken his sign on a walk. Simple NHS sign, but inventive use of media with floating window and beads in the background. Very nice, Jan, thank you. Excellent stuff. I would love to see a member of the public interacting with the sign, maybe pausing for a second, you know, scratching their chin, looking around to see who might have left it there. Pieces of public art, I think, are always interesting and fun. Right, so that's the window slogan task, and as you can see, lots of people responded in a really inventive and fun way. Let's move on now to talk about the selfie GIFs. Before I go and look at these, I just want to acknowledge that this was a slightly ambitious task in terms of I was asking you to use an app, and I know that some of you might have struggled technologically, not only with the making of this GIF, but also with the sending of this GIF. I know that for a lot of people, getting their GIF to their teacher was a struggle. So thank you so much to the many students that managed it without any issues. You are amazing. And thank you also to those of you that struggled but tried and kept trying until it worked. That's what I'm talking about. Bit of resilience, bit of resourcefulness. So moving on, we're going to have a look at some GIFs. So here we have Tizzy on the left, quite a pensive, heartfelt GIF, okay? And then Munib, a little cheekier, but also telling us a story maybe of boredom, fatigue, frustration. Then we've got Lucy, very lovely neutral expression, and the background changes around Lucy. And then on the right hand side, one of my favorites from last week, this is from Darren, who always brings a little bit of personality and humor and energy to his work. Thank you very much, Darren. Keep your eyes open for the evil version of him that pops up. There it is. Ooh, scary, devil boy. Okay, moving on. See if I can skip to the next slide here. Excellent. We've got some boys, okay, from a combination of places. There we go. We've got Daniel from Ate, who shows off his collection of hats, and also he uses the window as a background, which is a good idea. Then we've got Tate, who keeps that facial expression very consistent and then allows the background and his hairstyle to do the talking. Then we've got Marcello, who's had a lockdown haircut, which makes me very jealous. I'm struggling myself right now. And you can see for one frame that his old hair pops back and then disappears again, just to tease us. You know, this is the new me, he's saying maybe. Then we've got Peter, and Peter's the only boy on this slide that gave us a little bit of a friendly smile. So thank you so much, Peter. It's good to see you popping out into the garden as well. Yeah, I love these. They're good work. Well done, boys. Next one, we've got two to finish off here. On the left, we have Lola, who really impressed me by realizing that not only could she create the impression of time passing by changing her outfits, which she has done, well done, she also realized she could create the impression of movement over time by moving her head around as she took the photographs. Really clever. And it's nice to see someone take the basic concept and run with it and do something a little bit extra, something which I think I would define as being creative. And then finally over here on the right, we have Noah Reeves' response. And again, I feel you, Noah. The struggle is real. We all need a haircut, unless, like Marcello, we're willing to buzz it all off. I believe Mr. McLaughlin has also taken the plunge recently and cut all his hair off. I'm certainly tempted. So not that many photographs here, but he has made them consistent by having the same prop each time, taking them in the same place, and maintaining the same stony facial expression. Well done, Noah. And I'm impressed that you managed to get that text on top as well. I'm not sure how you did that, so well done. Right, that's everything I have to say this week. Let's get rid of my sharing screen so I can wrap things up. Again, always so impressed when people do a little bit of extra artwork over half term, and so many of you came through with the GIF task. And also, I thought the window slogan was a real high point, and had some of the most provocative, creative, unexpected responses yet. So keep them coming, 8A, 8B, 8C, 8D, and 8E. You're doing very well, and you know, I think you should be very proud of what you've achieved in this period of time. Okay, now, look after yourselves. Chat soon.